Hello there and welcome to the North Star. On this episode, we're going to discuss a principle that cuts across every industry, every organization, every career trajectory, and that's the competence currency. And this entire concept is why solution providers are always winning, and I believe that's who you want to be. It's important to understand that the world ticks towards people that solve problems, not just people that show up. So we're going to try to dismantle the myth of entitlement and build a framework for indispensability. And what we're talking about a scenario where competence, not credential, not connections, not just charisma, is the ultimate currency that your life is built around. And we're going to explore ancient principle that modern management theory keeps rediscovering, and that service is a pathway to leadership and sacrifice is a prize of significance. Just jump into the conversation. Nobody cares about your potential, not even your credential. They care about your output. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, said it plainly: the purpose of business is to create and keep a customer. But this is extension. The purpose of your career is to create and to keep value. Value so clear and so consistent, so essential that systems cannot function optimally without you. This is what economics call competitive advantage, but applied to individuals rather than companies. Michael Porter's framework for competitive advantage identifies three strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, or focus. So as an individual contributor or leader, your competitive advantage comes from differentiation through solution provision. So you don't compete on price. How little can I work? You compete on value. How much can I solve, improve, and deliver? I hope you got that. You don't compete on price. How little can I work for? In the frame of money, you compete on value. How much can I solve, improve, and deliver? And this is the indispensability equation. You want to work yourself to have the indispensability status in any sphere of life. The equation is simple. Indispensability equal problem-solving capacity times multiplied by consistency, multiplied by strategic alignment, divide by replaceability. So we'll break it down. So problem-solving capacity is your ability to identify issues others miss and implement solutions that work consistently. Your ability to identify issues that others miss and implement solutions that work. Consistency is your reliability in delivering this value repeatedly, not sporadically. Strategic alignment is how directly your contribution connects to the organization's core objective. Replaceability is how easy someone else can step in and deliver the same value. So when that equation meets a high number, it becomes what business strategists call a key person dependency. And while organizations try to avoid this for risk management, the reality is that indispensable people most times write their own ticket to systems. And that's the truth. And that's the kind of person you need to aim to become. Enter systems as a student, but leave as a solution provider. And a lot of people fail because they enter systems asking what they can get rather than what they can give. And organizational behavior research constantly shows that the highest performers share a common approach when entering into new environments. They follow what the Harvard Business School professor Linda Hills called managing up and across, but I add managing forward to that framework. So the first 90 days framework. When you enter any system, a new job, a new team, a new industry, your first responsibility is not to prove that you belong. It's to learn the terrain and identify the gaps. So you need to look at your weaks, the initial point of entry, diagnose where are the weak points, inefficiencies in processes, what problems keep leadership up at night, where are the bottlenecks that are slowing things down. The second phase is design now. what improved processes can address these gaps, what big wins can bring credibility, what long-term solutions can bring simple value, and how can existing resources be optimized. The next layer is to deliver your design. Implement pilot solutions to demonstrate proof of concept. Document measurable improvement. Share insights that will help others see possibilities that they've missed. And then position yourself as a go-to person for strategic problem solving. So it's not about politics. You can't rise by politics or manipulation in any work environment. This is about strategic value creation, which is the foundation of every successful business or every successful career. You must learn the art of making people see their future through your eyes. And that's the vision translation business. And that's where you need to be operating at. Leadership or thought leadership in any sphere is about translating vision into actionable realities. You become what organizational psychologists call a transformational leader. Even if you don't have that title, that's who you really are. So think about Joseph in the Bible, for a bit, not as a spiritual story, but as a case study in strategic consulting. Pharaoh had a problem. Disturbing dreams, no interpretation. Joseph provided interpretation. That's diagnostic insight. And the 7-year plan for famine preparation was strategic solution. And then he didn't just identify the problem, he mapped a pathway to survival and prosperity. So this is the pattern. You must build your life and your growth framework around this, diagnosing accurately, understanding the real problem, not just surface symptoms, forecast consequences, and help leaders see what happens if nothing changes, prescribe solutions, provide concrete actionable steps, then quantify impact, show the measurable difference your solution will make, then de-risk implementation. So you address potential obstacles and how to overcome them. When you can do this consistently, you don't just become useful, you become strategically essential to every system. Don't just walk into systems and places and processes complaining. So in management terms, they call this business acumen, the ability to understand how the pieces of a business fit together and to make decisions that create value at the end of the day. But you see, it applies beyond just systems and businesses. This should just become your way of life. An upwardly mobile person. We're going to push the conversation further and talk about competence as your default setting, predictable competence, and working beyond recognition. Because what you're trying to build is to become a person of values. You must understand and work yourself to the point where excellence becomes intrinsic. We'll talk about the motivation theory for a moment. Self-determination theory. It identifies 3 core psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. But the insight here is sustainable motivation comes from internal standards, not external validation. So when you work for recognition, your performance fluctuates depending on who is watching. But when competence becomes your default setting, you perform excellently whether anyone watches or not. So Angela Duckworth calls this grit, sustained passion, perseverance for long-term goals. But I refine it further by saying it's about making excellence so habitual that mediocrity feels uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. This is what makes you a person of competence and value. And you see, competence has compounding effect. So Cal Newport's research on career capital shows that skills compound over time. Every problem you solve makes you better at solving the next one. Every process you improve sharpens your diagnostic abilities. Every system you optimize teaches you something about systems thinking. So this creates what economists call increasing return. So your value grows exponentially, not linearly, because each competency builds on the previous one. But this is the key. It only works when you are doing the work when no one is really giving you any accolade or applause. And you must also come to a point where you are able to show excellence and working even in the face of adversity. So let's go back to Joseph for a moment again. Not from a theological perspective, but from an organizational perspective. Okay. So Joseph in prison represents the ultimate test of competence, divorced from context. So he had every reason to give up, falsely accused, unjustly imprisoned, completely disconnected from any pathway to the future. He was promised by God, and he saw the stars and the moon bowing to him and all that. By every rational calculation, there was no need to perform excellently because of his physical or external condition. But you see, he ran the prison so effectively that they wouldn't put him in charge. So from a management perspective, this demonstrates what I think Martin Seligman calls learned optimism, the ability to maintain agency and effort, even in circumstances that you don't control. So I'll create my own principle now. I'll probably recommend it to you as well. The prison butler principle. Your competence must become context independent. Excellence in limited circumstances is the proof of concept for excellence in expanded opportunities. So think about it practically. The entry-level employee who optimizes their small corner of operations catches the eyes of senior leadership. The middle manager who drives results with minimal resources get tapped for bigger budgets and teams. The consultant who delivers exceptional work on small projects gets invited to pitch for the major accounts. Your current limitations are your credibility laboratories. You can't run away from it. If you can't run the prison excellently, how would anyone trust you with the palace? This connects directly to what business strategists call demonstrable capability. You can't just claim you are ready for bigger opportunities. You have to prove it in your current one, regardless of the adversity. So the prison butler principle is that the prison did not shrink Joseph's possibilities of interpreting dreams. Imagine that because of his circumstances, he toned down on that competence. And that was his getaway or jail-free card. That was his point of entry to the palace. The environment did not look like a destination, but regardless, he was not selective in applying himself. He was not selective in showing up. He wasn't selective in predictable competence. And you have to become this kind of person, because the day kings will come to the brightness of your rising, you might not be aware. That means you must be on the lookout consistently and take responsibility for intensifying the brightness of your rising by putting the work all the time in season and out of season. When it's convenient and when it's not convenient, keep showing up. That's demonstrable capability. In season and out of season, keep showing up, because kings will come to the brightness of your rising unannounced. Their eyes are on you. Your leadership, the CEO, your family, their eyes are on you. And if you want more responsibility, more allowance, more vote of confidence, you want more leeway to climb to your next level, you must be seen as someone that shows up consistently. So today, be a person of competence. Be a person that is synonymous to value. And trust me, see a man that is diligent in his business. He won't stand before men, he will stand before kings. See you at the top.